and welcome to this video from The Banker. I'm Kimberly Long, Asia Editor of The Banker, and today I'm delighted to be joined by the Thai Finance Minister, Arkham Tumpitiai-Paisi, to present him with his award for Finance Minister of the Year, APAC 2023. Thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure.
And I can say on behalf of myself and the team at The Banker, we're delighted to have you here to join us in our offices in London.
My pleasure too. It's very honor for me.
So to begin with, I have a few questions about Thailand and the economy. So Thailand's really dependent on the tourism sector, and obviously it took a real hit during the pandemic. What has been done to help to shore up the industry, and how is the government supporting it now to get back on its feet?
Well, actually, we have to make sure that during the COVID time in 2021, that we thought that we could not, preventing the COVID-19 for a long time. So at the same time that not only we have to prevent the COVID-19, but it's a cost for the economy. So we started to think about how we reopen our economy. Yes, of course, I think the tourism sector is one of the quick money for the country. So we start very small area with the Phuket. You know, Phuket is the tourism area that we using the Phuket Sandbox, what we call the Phuket Sandbox. So we got the cooperation from all the people in Phuket. So that's the first thing that we did to experiment whether it's work or not. But it's worked well, despite that some people still got infected. But anyway, and we improved our measure. So and then the other attempt is the government assistance to the tourism sector, particularly for hotels and the small entrepreneurs, that they are giving the what we call the soft loan for them in order to retain their employment at that time. So it's worked well. And then we improved our system in 2021 by giving the soft loan, okay, and then started from the quarantine and the certificate, vaccine certificate for tourists. So we started step by step open the economy with the certificate first, and then once all countries that start when they have to improve the situation in the other countries, particularly for the East Asia, and we know that at the time China is still not able to open the economy, Japan too, but our first priority is our neighboring country in ASEAN and the South Asia. So by that, then we could arrange the system, making the system work by all the cooperation from the Ministry of Public Health, as well as for the people, to the people. But at the same time, it's not only the international tourists, but also the domestic. So government give the 40% discount for the hotels and use the capacity of the hotel. So giving the 40% subsidy for the accommodation, the hotel accommodation, as well as giving some voucher for the Thai people to travel around the country. So once when the domestic tourism start to improve, then we quite sure that our system works. So in that case, the late 2021 and 22, then we decided to open our economy. So basically, it's the government assistance to the private sector.
Okay, moving on to another question now around the inflationary pressures that we've been seeing happening globally. How has Thailand managed this?
Well, the inflation in Thailand is not the highest in the region. I think last year we got the 6% at the end of the year. The average is 6%, but when you look at the January and February figures, January and our inflation was 5%, and coming down to February 3.8%, which is showing the sign of the declining of our inflation pressure. But in Thailand, actually, the causes of the inflation was mainly from the cost side, supply side, particularly energy price and the food price. So how we deal with that? Energy price, the government subsidize the most vulnerable groups, as well as using our fiscal tools, particularly for tariff excise tax for the diesel oil that used in transportation and logistics. So that could help the private sector to maintain the price or even lowering the price. On the food side, that we just shifting from persuade the people, the farmer, to use more organic fertilizers as well as the pesticides. That helped to reduce the cost, and the government give the subsidy for the farmer as well. So that's two things that we try to make once it's not from the demand side, our inflation hiking, is not there from the consumption, because after the COVID, you need to stimulate the economy. So you need to make the people spend more money. So that can help the big business, the large business, medium scale, and even for the people at the grassroots. So these two basics, the tools that can help lower the cost or even maintain the cost of the living of the people. Government also subsidizing for the electricity price, as well as the water supply and the cooking gas, particularly the cooking gas. Although we raised some of the ceiling price of the cooking gas, but we keep maintaining the price, not going up more. So that's our policies to help the more target group to the people.
Mm-hmm. And recently there's been several large infrastructure projects have been announced. How is this going to stimulate the economy, and also how are these projects going to be financed?
Well, actually, you see for the past 8 years that the government committed to invest in the public infrastructure, particularly shifting from road to rails, making the people to use more public transport. So in Bangkok right now, you can see the more mass transit system, particularly underground or the sky train. That our policies to help the efficiency in our transportation and bringing down the cost of the transport for the people. As well as when I'm talking about shifting from road to rail, our investment project basically goes to the rail project, both the double track system, so that for the old system, and the new system is the high-speed rail connecting between Bangkok to Laos PDR and to China. And the second high-speed rail is on the Eastern Economic Corridor. So making the people who are traveling to Bangkok, you can use the 3 airports together by having the high-speed train to link between 3 airports. So I think basically this is one of the issues that we are tackling with our competitiveness. We are competing in the good infrastructure. It's not only the transportation, but also the energy, as well as the telecommunication infrastructure as well. But how to finance? There are several ways. There are some projects that we are using our national budget, and some of them that basically for the construction and the operation, we are giving to the private sector to run the train, to run the bus, and whatsoever, you see. And the other form is giving the private sector on the PPP concept, giving them the concession for the project. So I think our competitiveness ranking is not moving so much during the past 8 years, but once that we decided to invest more infrastructure, then I think our competitiveness, the ranking will be improved. That's the things that I think, and whether financed by the national budget or the borrowing borrowing, I think we still have our fiscal discipline, not to keep our public debt not up to the ceiling of the public debt is 70%. So we still maintain the 60% by government burden and also the private sector burden as well.
And you've set the target, there's going to be 3.8% GDP growth this year. Is the economy on target to meet this total?
Yes, some people don't believe that, but because of the last quarter of our GDP expanded by the last quarter of last year, expanded by 1.4%, which is quite low. That's mainly for our export of goods. That may perhaps because of the slowing down in the global economy, that our export has been going down. But the pricing is still okay. We still gaining our foreign exchange from the price. But for the 2023, of course, the tourism sector will be the main driver for the economy. Not only Thailand, but also other countries as well. Secondly, our domestic consumption will improve because people get back to the job, and the salary and wages has been increased, particularly minimum wage has been increased already. So I think that enhanced the purchasing power of the people. So I'm talking about the tourism income and the domestic income spending. And third is the investment. Particularly, we resume our construction in the mega project, as I mentioned, the infrastructure project. Because during COVID, some of the project has been delayed, mainly because of the workers. They got infected by COVID-19, so we have to stop the work in a certain period. But now this year, the 2023, I think all the investment will be continue. And the last thing is the private investment. Private investment, when we look at our import of the goods, mainly in machinery that we bring into the country for the investment in manufacturing sector. So that can help our economy. And we still believe that our target is from Minister of Finance, we set the target at 3.8% for this year, 2023. At the same time, several analysts are still looking at the lower. So our range is still between the 3 to 4%. And Minister of Finance is the 3.8, I think within the range. And our inflation, as I said, February data has been coming down. So I think this year we would be able to achieve our target by 3%, our inflation rate. So that's the agreement between the Minister of Finance and the Central Bank to keep our inflation, headline inflation, between the 1 to 3%. And I think because of the government assistance in the lowering the cost of the production, that can help to bring down the inflation for this year.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.